Everything kicked off with an ordinary introduction. I had just come back from the army, started my studies, and landed a job. In short, I was diving into life, trying to fit in like everyone else. I first encountered my future wife at a gathering hosted by mutual friends. Initially, there was no spark, no chemistry. We were too dissimilar. I was this open-hearted, easygoing guy, while she was a reserved introvert, lost in her philosophy books and her work. After that first night, we crossed paths a few more times, always in the same social circle. However, it was during one of those meetings that something shifted. By then, she had firmly etched herself into my memory. I guess my prolonged singlehood played a part. Even a gray mouse like her seemed incredibly sweet, charming, and undeniably feminine. From the moment we started dating to when we moved in together and got engaged, around 6 months passed. Then began our family life. Nearly 5 years. 5 years filled with bliss. There was love, romance, and intimacy in everything we shared. But then came a turning point. I was focused on growing my business, while she held a decent position at a large company. We were living off my earnings, and to be honest, I was completely fine with it. I had always bought into the traditional notion that a man should take care of his partner and their family. Everything felt pretty typical until changes at her workplace shook things up. Let me explain. Her company merged with another, shifting its focus and trajectory. As a result, her career began to soar. At first, everything seemed great, but then money and success started to test their toll, and her attitude began to shift. Our family dynamics began to unravel in a painfully familiar way. She started to blame me, insisting that we were living off her success, which, frankly, wasn't true. She began criticizing me for not achieving enough as a man. My business didn't meet her newly raised standards. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this scenario. Corporate events started to pop up. New colleagues entered the picture, and before long, there were changes in her personal space. Suddenly, her phone and social media accounts were locked tight with passwords. She would snap at any question I asked, insisting, "I don't owe you an explanation. I'm my own person. I don't owe anyone anything." It all ended corny and simple. She was brought drunk and trampled after a corporate party. All the good feelings and patience ran out in one moment. When I found out about the betrayal, it turned out to be like a stab in the back. The following week, I met my wife's colleague, who, as it turned out, was one of the few who remained friendly with her after all the changes. We met by chance in a cafe, and the conversation turned to work and life. He, not wanting to focus on the troubles, mentioned that she had been spending a lot of time with one of her new colleagues lately. "You know, they say they're very close," he said with some embarrassment in his voice. I felt something tighten in my chest. Everything inside me turned upside down, and I, trying to remain calm, asked, "What do you mean?" He began to talk about how she and this colleague often stay at parties the longest, laughing, exchanging glances, which many colleagues interpret as something more than just friendship. With each of his phrases, my heart tightened more and more. You know how it is at corporate parties. There's always a lot of alcohol, and sometimes people lose their guard, he finished, not knowing how much it hurt me to hear it. I didn't want to believe him, but I couldn't ignore that his words coincided with the changes I'd noticed in her. This feeling of betrayal overwhelmed me. I left him without saying another word, but everything was spinning in my head. She's cheating. And so, when she came home from the party, all sparkling, with a light gait and a blank look, I could no longer just pretend that everything was the same as before. I left the same night. I solved the issue of new housing in a couple of days, and with the divorce. A day later, she didn't care about the divorce papers at all, and she left after receiving the fee. It was very difficult at first. I remembered all the good things that had happened between us, and I couldn't understand how such a change could happen. For a long time, I heard rumors from mutual friends about what she was turning into. Strong, independent, inexpensive clothes, with expensive cosmetics, but with the character of a Virgo. Within a year, I came to terms with it, cut her and everything that connected us out of my life, and radically changed myself. I became interested in stalking. In my free time, I began to wander through various abandoned buildings and old abandoned military towns, became interested in books on philosophy, and realized my dream. I learned to play the guitar, bought myself a six-stringed beauty. And so began another chapter of my life, a journey through forgotten places, connecting with kindred spirits and friends who shared my passions, engaging in heartfelt conversations, and singing around the campfire. In a word, it was pure romance. My soul felt alive in a way it never had before. I let go of my personal life, not because I had lost faith in women or love, but one day I caught a glimpse of my friend's family. I saw his wife and realized that family is a treasure, and discovering your true partner is something priceless. It dawned on me that I was just a simple wanderer, perhaps unworthy of such a gift. I was probably leaning towards monogamy. 13 years later, while settling business and personal matters in the capital, I unexpectedly ran into my ex-wife. It was my brother's wedding, and I was shopping for gifts for my nephews and my older brother's children when I bumped into her. Her life has changed dramatically, as has her own. The demand for her work decreased significantly, and the number of young competitors grew, and she had to fight to stay afloat. She had a small child, born from a relationship with a married man who had abandoned her, refusing to acknowledge the child, and threatening serious repercussions if she ever brought up child support or paternity. She spoke about this with a sense of irony, devoid of anger, emotions, or bitterness. I'm not sure how true it was, but she expressed regret over how things had turned out between us, lamenting that she had ruined what we had. She said that she loved me, and always had, claiming I was the only one who ever truly cared for her. In the end, she suggested we start anew, declaring herself willing to do anything to mend our relationship. I thought long and hard before declining. I felt like a stranger in my own life, and adding a relationship plus a child into the mix seemed overwhelming. Could I truly love and accept this child? And if not, what would be the point? The child wasn't at fault, and the idea of causing pain was unbearable. So I turned her down, and we parted ways for what I hope is the final time. That's how I live now, a wanderer and a recluse, a lost soul in desolate places. Honestly, I'm content. Yet there are moments when a wave of nostalgia washes over me. Sitting by the fire under the stars, I recall the past and all the beautiful moments. Sometimes I wish I could revisit those times, even just for a few fleeting minutes. It's a bittersweet realization that no matter how much I wish for it, I can't go back. The girl I loved never truly existed. It was just an illusion, while the reality was someone entirely different. A person I came to understand I didn't know at all. But I've made peace with that. The past is gone, and everything that was belongs to yesterday. All that remains is the present and the unpredictable future ahead. We all have dreams, aspirations, and hopes, but there's only one path through life. The essence of my soul is what I'll carry with me. It's the only thing that will endure beyond my time here.